These are my top 10 most anticipated whiskeys for 2025. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Bourbon Hutch, and thanks so much for joining me on this journey through the world of whiskey. So, as is natural at the beginning of the year, let's take a look at some of the most exciting bottles and bourbon releases for 2025. We've got 2024 in the rear view, did our Whiskey of the Year bracket tournament, finished that up. It was an exciting year, it was an awesome year in bourbon, and a great year for the Bourbon Hutch. So thanks for all your support. But let's turn our attention now to 2025. I put together a list of my top 10 most anticipated releases as of right now. Do want to caveat the list by saying it's early in the year, took a look at some of the bourbon release calendars, and there's a lot of months where we just don't know exactly what new stuff is going to come out. But this is a mix of some of that already anticipated, already announced new products that are going to hit the shelves that we should be looking for, and then also those regular releases that come out each year from different brands that I am keeping a particular eye on, and I think you should too. So without further ado, let's dive into the list. For me, number one is Old Forester 1924. So yes, this did officially become a new whiskey in 2024, but supposedly going to be an annual release for the Whiskey Row lineup. And I'm really curious to see how the whiskey either changes or does not. Is this going to be the kind of release where it's like a Jack 10 or something? Each time is like a new batch that everybody tastes and compares to the others? Or is it going to be just a standard, basically same profile every single time? I don't know. I'm curious. It's also a bottle that grew on me all throughout 2024. More expensive, around that $115. But the way the whiskey developed and how I just kept gravitating back toward it, it started to justify that price a lot more. Okay, so number two, and by the way, these aren't in any particular order as you'll see, but number two for me is Four Roses single barrel releases. So they've added 3 new recipes this year in 2025 to their lineup for the regular old available $45 to $50 single barrel offerings at 100 proof. You can now get OBSF, OESK, and OESO, along with the OBSV of the original recipe. So I'm really excited to see how those kind of turn out in that more budget-friendly category. It's going to be nice to have more variety from Four Roses. I'm not really sure why they haven't done this earlier. If you do like their different recipes and the variation, it's just going to be a fun thing to get to collect. So looking forward to checking those out. Those should drop pretty early in the year or start becoming available. All right, number 3, I've got Penelope Havana. This is a rum and maple cask finish from Penelope. I've been sort of on the outskirts of the Penelope fandom. I've had a touch or a tasting of a lot of their different products, and I've enjoyed a lot of them, but there seems to be a ton of hype and a big fandom for them. This is one that caught my eye. They've done some stuff in the past that I was a little bit wary of, ooh, that seems a little bit, off the beaten track, but rum and maple finish, that sounds pretty delightful. Would love to get my hands on a bottle, and this is supposed to come out relatively soon here in January, February. Could be a great one to add to your collection. Okay, number 4 gets us kind of back to a very standard, exciting release, and that for me is bunched together. It's Larceny Barrel Proof and Elijah Craig Barrel Proof for 2025. Continues to be a developing story, especially for Elijah Craig without the age statement of 12 years. Got rid of that in late 2023, led to C923, an absolute monster. Then 2024 was kind of a middle of the road year, if you ask me. No batch was truly stellar, but they were all pretty good. Really looking forward to seeing what they do this year. Would love to see something in that 13-year-old range again, and just something to wow us. Larceny Barrel Proof ended the year in 2024 with C924, an absolute banger, and that line continues to impress the heck out of me for around $65. So sign me up to gather all of them that I can and compare them as always for you guys. All right, number 5 is a particularly exciting one for me because I've never had any of these releases and I have batched them together. So we've got Jack Daniel's 10-year, 12-year, and new in 2025, at least rumored that it's going to come out this year, Jack Daniel's 14-year. So again, I've never had any of these bottles. what a year it would be if I could maybe track down that 14 year. Honestly though, I'd take a 10 or a 12. I've heard they're very, very good, just delicious, easy sipping whiskey in a lot of ways. I love the Jack Daniel's recipe, but that 14 year, that could be something special, and I'm sure everybody's gonna be chasing it, but it's good to have on your radar that that's rumored to come out in 2025. All right, moving on, number 6, I've got Booker's The Reserves 2025. So this was a new release in 2024, the Reserves, and then they also did the Infinite blend. I heard good things about both, but I heard that the Booker's Reserves was more of a value play in some ways, and also that for a lot of people, that's what they've been hoping just the regular Booker's releases, that kind of standard would be set. A little bit older, maybe a little bit richer, and that's kind of what you get when you can pull back from different reserves that they've been aging a little bit longer. Interested to see how that develops in 2025. I think that's a bottle that I'll probably go out and get. I have decided to sort of limit myself to one Booker's product a year. I think that with the 4 releases of the standard stuff, and then they're adding all these different trajectories to go after, I want to pick one each year, make sure I get one and taste it and review it and see how it stacks up to the rest. Kind of have my eye on the reserves as maybe more valuable, maybe a better play than the other just standard Booker's releases. Okay, number 7 on my list might be the most interesting. E.H. Taylor Distillers Council. So this is going to be a 100 proof bottled in bond product just like the rest of E.H. Taylor's line, except for the barrel proofs. But the E.H. Taylor Distillers Council, I don't really know much about it other than there's been a label released. It's 100 proof bottled in bond, like I said. They seem to be doing a little bit more experimentation with the E.H. Taylor line and some stuff at Buffalo Trace. For a long time, it's just been pretty standard. Whatever they release is what they release. Now they seem to be maybe getting a little bit onto that train of different trajectories, kind of like Booker's. Maybe it floods the market with too much stuff that's not really all that differentiated, or maybe this is a truly special bottle. If you know anything about this release yet, or if you've heard rumblings, would love to know in the comments below. What exactly is kind of the angle here? Why are they releasing a new E.H. Taylor kind of format at 100 proof bottled in bond? In any case, number 8, Maker's Mark Cellar Aged 2025. Well, you can't have 2023 and 2024 and enjoy both of them like I do and not want the 2025, especially given that 2023 was that 11 and 12 year mix. Then 2024 was a 12 and 13-year-old blend. Does that mean 2025 is going to be a 13 and 14-year-old whiskey? If they're just going to keep upping the ante, count me in to just see how that whiskey continues to develop. It's a really cool experiment even to be part of. As Maker's Mark has heard the cries of the people for older whiskey and responded with cellar aged, I'm interested to see if 2025 is even more age and perhaps maybe the best release yet. I thought that the 2023 cellar aged maybe had the best nose, and then 2024 had the better palate. So maybe 2025 is just the absolute home run. All right, number 9 for me is another bottle that I've never gotten my hands on, so one I'm always looking for, and that's Parker's Heritage 19th edition. I hadn't really found much information about what this whiskey's going to be. Parker's can be anything from ryes. Last year they did like a single malt release, which I honestly heard after the fact was incredible. Kind of surprised by that. I mean, 14-year-old Parker's whiskey has got to be great. They pick some of the best stuff, but my kind of gut is saying they've done a rye recently. They did the malt. Maybe they'll go back to something more standard bourbon, and I'm really interested to see what it is. I'm sure it's going to be great, and I would love to add one to my collection. And then number 10 for me is Wild Turkey Master's Keep Beacon. They again released a label for this. It's going to be 118 proof bourbon. So pretty high proof stuff from Wild Turkey. Yes, this has gotten really, really expensive in that like $275 to $300 range. We saw that with the Voyage. Then the Triumph was a 10-year-old rye that was that expensive. Is the whiskey really worth that much? Really depends on the release. I wish it was less expensive, but this one has me excited. Admittedly, as 118 proof bourbon, I'm imagining it's going to have some great age and be a pretty well-crafted product. The premiumization is certainly hitting the market because Wild Turkey's setting a trend there. But if this one's really worth that price, I will probably be hunting it down. Okay, I did have just a bonus line here that I wanted to cover. All of BTAC, King of Kentucky as well. Those are unicorn bottles that I will probably be looking for every single year. You can include Pappy Van Winkle in that. I don't love just leading off anticipated lists with those bottles. Everybody knows you're hunting them. Everybody knows that if you get the chance in a lottery or however it comes your way to get it at a reasonable price, we're all probably pulling that trigger to grab something awesome. But the other 10 on the list I felt like were better variety and a little bit more interesting to talk about. But it does go without saying, I would love a BTAC or a King of Kentucky this year. That would be an awesome thing to add to the collection. Okay, I definitely want to know in the comments below, what do you think of the list? Does it match up with kind of what you're looking for this year? What have you got your eye on? Would love to know what in particular you're most excited to try to add to your own personal collection. Till I see you guys again for another video, all I can say is keep drinking good whiskey, happy hunting in 2025, and cheers.